Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Chapter 419 of Tower of God, or Season 3, Episode 2. So, yeah, I absolutely loved it. I think that maybe other people didn't love it as much as me, but I loved it because I feel like as much as I love Tower of God, and I think it's probably my favorite series right now, probably, but as much as I love it, every series isn't perfect. Everything has its own weaknesses here and there, so I like when stories kind of make up for their weaknesses and improve a bit. And I think one of the weaknesses that Tower of God has is that sometimes it can't see the trees for the forest. So it's kind of the opposite of the normal saying, which is like, you can't see the forest for the trees because you're so focused on the tiny details that you lose sight of the big picture. Well, Tower of God, and I say this for a lot of other series too here and there, because other series have this habit as well, but Tower of God has this habit of focusing so much on the big picture, and we need to hit this story beat and this story beat to progress the lore of the entire series. It focuses so much on the big picture that it forgets to just tell a fun weekly adventure. So I like things where it's like the Name Hunt Station is a great example of doing it well, or early in Hidden Floor, or honestly you could say the entire Hidden Floor, or early Floor of Death. All of those, and I would even throw in Workshop Battle with that too. All of those are examples of good arc stories, just a good week-to-week arc story. And comparing that to a series that does it probably more well than any other I could think of, One Piece is a story. Each arc is like its own contained story. Each arc has its own characters, its own plotline, its own villain, and it is just that. It's a story arc. And little bits and pieces of those story arcs come together to form the main plot. And I think that's a really, really good way of doing it, especially once you get as long-running as something like Tower of God or One Piece is that you need to be able to tell those good arc storylines and just have bits of them that are connecting back up. And that's what I think this chapter did an amazing job at, because we didn't just tell the story of Bomb going to get Yama's help, which would just be going directly into the main storyline. Instead, Bomb is indirectly getting Yama's help, which is connecting this to the main storyline, but that's not really the focus. The focus was on Bomb grabbing Louis and running away from Lulu and dealing with Bangso. So it just told a fun weekly arc story. So yeah, that's why I think I love this chapter so much, and it was hilarious. I laughed so much. The comedy was really, really good. Some of it may be unintentional, but yeah, in general, the stuff that was intentional, though, really funny. So I'll talk about it start to finish, then do the blog post, and then give some more main or general thoughts on it. So to talk about the chapter from the start, Bomb says he's on a mission from his master. Now, I don't know if this is Evankel directly sending him on a mission. To me it seems, I mean, that would be the direct connotation we get, but to me it seems maybe like Bomb's on a mission for his master, in that he knows that he needs to get Yama's help and to work with Karaka in order to free Jinsung, his master who has been captured. So I think maybe that's more along the lines of what's happening, but who knows, maybe Evankel has her own reasons. So he's taking Louis, who it seemed last week the way he's like, oh, there you are, like he had known him, but Louis doesn't actually know him, and neither does Lulu. Louis is described as being a homeless dog who belongs to the company that Lulu works for. Now this company, my theory on it, just to get ahead of myself here, is that they seem to be part of the lowest level of the Bay Roads enterprise, where they're just kidnapping regulars to turn into like pit fighting regulars. And the combat dogs are literally dogs, but I think this may be some sort of experimentation that's done on the weakest ones to turn them into mindless soldiers, because they aren't strong enough to make it up the ranks in the fighting pits and become mad dogs. So yeah, either way, that's the story behind Louis that we get so far. Bomb runs away with him. Lulu gets chewed out by her boss, Bangso, who mentions Lord Kanzone. And Bongso is described as a level 4 supervisor. Now, I don't think that means that there are like levels to the supervisors and he is like a level 4 supervisor. I think it rather means that this company is separated into sort of taking regulars on different levels, and he's the supervisor of level 4. So he mentions Lord Kanzo. So Lord Kanzo, I guess, is going to be the person above the rank of supervisor. And we know later on Lulu doesn't really have any aspirations above supervisor. She just wants to be a supervisor, tell the dogs to do all the work, and then retire. But Louie is Deng Deng's friend, so now we finally get to figure out, okay, that's what the name of the arc is talking about. And he mentions that he and Deng Deng deserve to be free, they just want to be free. And Bomb's argument is, well, you're better with me than with them. Take your chances with me, because if I let you go, you're just going to get like hunted down and captured by all these combat dogs and such. So, yeah, you're better off just coming with me. He also promises that he'll set them free if Deng Deng helps get Yama's help. So whoever Deng Deng is, they can be used as a bargaining chip in some way to get Yama's help. And I have my ideas on that, but I'll get to that when I get to it, I guess. So, the combat dog shows up. I think it's hilarious. I love it. The design, it's just this jacked, furry, a literal dog. And it's wearing, like, compression shorts. They're all just, like, shirtless with a collar on, wearing compression shorts. And what I called in the reaction a combat thong, that I just thought was just every little bit about this. The fact that it's jacked, that it's a furry, that it has this bondage-ass collar on, that it's a literal dog, that it's wearing nothing but compression shorts, and that it has the combat thong. Every little nuance to the design is hilarious. But what I mentioned with that is, like, I've seen it a bunch in, like, Japanese RPG type stuff in anime where like armor will have these like thong like straps up on the hips, and I'm like, what is the point of that? Why is that on the armor? So yeah, the combat dogs have those on their compression shorts for whatever reason. So I don't know, all of it's hilarious. I also love when Baum takes Louie and he jumps off the cliff and everything. The entire time Baum is just calmly talking or thinking to himself. Louie is just screaming in the background the entire time Baum is completely calm. So Baum talks to Hackney, who's coming to meet him with the ship. Lulu talks to Bongso, and it becomes where it's made clear to us as readers that she's capable, she's smart, she just has a really shitty boss. So she goes and catches up to Baum. I love her power, and I love the speech she has about her plans just to get a job. She doesn't care about climbing at this point. And then when Baum says, this organization's a bit shadier than you think it is, or it's in with a shadier organization than you think it is, I'm pretty certain that's referencing that they are in with Baylord Yama and FUG. Bongso then shows up like a joke villain, just shows up posing with the furry squad with him. It's so funny, it's so good. Baum then congeals Shinsu in a way that we have seen once before, at least once before that I remember. Yu Han-sung congeals Shinsu in the same way during the last station arc. So again, I thought that was really cool how we've seen multiple times that when Baum does his close-range maneuvers, they're based on what he learned from Yu Han-sung, so his movements and Shinsu types kind of look the same, and when he does long-range stuff, it's because he learned it from Yu Han-sung. His long-range stuff has the same sort of look that Yu Han-sung's does, so I like that they kept that with him congealing Shinsu and it looking the same way. It wasn't his true power black and colorless Shinsu from before, it was just the generic bluish Shinsu. So all of that was cool. Now what came after that? So they mentioned that the combat dogs are just mindless soldiers at this point. I like that Baum says, it kind of shows a lot with Baum's character where he's like, I don't want to kill you, or I regret having to kill you. I don't want to have to kill you, but he has to kill him anyway. He does. And I like it in that Baum doesn't want to just go around murdering people or anything, but at the same time, these are enemy soldiers. And at this point, from what we know, they're just mindless soldiers. So it's good that he has morals, but at the end of the day, these are enemies. And I like that him killing them was very Enryu style, the way he rained down Shinzu attacks. Also, they bring up that he has a massive range, and we know that his range has been increased a lot from when he got the Red Thrissa at the end of Floor of Death. From there, he gives his speech and all, being all cool about how he dislikes Bangso's cowardice in just sending out the mindless soldiers to fight, and he himself just staying back and not trying to do anything himself. Bangso busts out a canine-type partial transformation, which is probably somehow related to whatever they do to turn the people into, or the captured regulars, presumably, into the combat dogs. Bomb then, I like the way he's cleaning up FUG. It's a big moment in that he's no longer running from his fate as a slayer, but rather saying FUG doesn't need assholes like you anymore, in that he has embraced that he's stuck with FUG, he's a part of him at this point. But if that's the case, he's going to make FUG not a place for assholes. He's going to do it his way still. So, and that's really, really good, because FUG's general premise, the general idea that they're working for, is very, very good. It's just that somewhere along the way, a lot of them have done things that are not good. But the basic premise that they've started with is a good ideology. So for Bomb to sort of clean up FUG and go with the original we need to take down Zahard because he's evil ideology is cool to see. From there we jump over to Shiplisu or Shibisu's group. Shakum is, I guess, the guy they were talking to. He takes them to Woon Yeon, or Yeon Woon. And Yeon Woon, I re-looked up at Mieum from the chick that Rak was with on the hidden floor. I re-looked her up to check again, and yeah, Mieum and Yeon Woon look totally similar. I mean, there are definitely some differences, but they look really strikingly similar. I don't think there's any sort of connection between them or anything. I just wanted to bring up that their designs look very similar. I don't think there's actually any connection there, really. But from there, of course they ask for them to unthaw Kun. But from there we get the blog post, and the only things I think were really important for that is Siu brings up that Bomb as a person, he's innately good. He's a good person, but he's showing a colder side here. So he still isn't like morally like terrible or anything. He's not just going to go out murdering innocent people, but he's showing a colder side, and I like it because, well, I'll get to that in my general thoughts, but I like it because it sort of shows a more experienced side of him that's been through a lot. But I'll get to that when I get to it. Another thing brought up in the blog is that, oh, he must be really powerful. He must have grown a lot to control an orb that size, so I guess size does matter. Size has something to do with the power of the orb. So, yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that, other than he can if he chooses to make it larger. But either way, I wouldn't read too much into that personally. In addition to that, he brings up that there are going to be answers in the Kun storyline next week, and that could go either way. Either I could see him just being like, yeah, you had this journey over 2 years, I can thaw him out whenever, pop him out, and then their journey from there is to go up the next 3 floors to catch up to where Bomb is. I could see that happening. I'd be fine with that. Or going the other way, that would maybe possibly make more sense. Woon Yeon would have to have some... I don't think that they're not going to be able to do it, period. I think there's going to be some prerequisites, like they're going to need something or to go to a certain place. They're not just going to be able to instantly do it. There's going to be some... or maybe they can just instantly do it, but they won't just do it for free because there's some drawback to it. So either way, no matter how it goes, I think that Woon Yeon's going to be able to do it, but at the same time, it's not exactly going to be free or easy. There's going to have to be some sort of stipulation to it. So we'll probably see that next week and see where it goes from there. So, thoughts as a whole now. I loved the chapter. It was so funny. Like I said, arc stories in general I feel like should get more focus. We should be focused on telling a good, fun story week to week, arc to arc, and using the bits and pieces from those to fit together and form the main story. and there have been arcs when this was done really well, and there have been just strings of months at a time where it hasn't been done the most well. And that doesn't mean the story was bad during those times. Like, Last Station was incredibly fun to read, but it was like mostly just main important storyline stuff the entire time, and that's the way a lot of the latter half or latter part of Floor of Death was, where it's just sort of a lot of stuff dealing with the main story and not as much going on with the arc itself as its own contained story. So either way, I like that we got some focus on just telling a fun weekly story. Louie and Lulu, I really didn't think much of their designs at the end of last week. I was like, are they Haku and Elaine in disguise? They look kind of like generic. So I really like that they grew on me a ton this chapter. I thought Louie was funny. I think his story has some interesting potential. I really like Lulu's design now. Her design's really grown on me a lot. I think maybe still it's a bit too similar to Elaine in some ways and too similar to Yiwa in some ways. But either way, it's unique enough that I like it. I love her power with the little monster thing she has that can compress itself and ride on her shoulder. All of that was cool. Also, another thing to bring up is wondering who else could be with Bomb. We know that Haku's with him. Haku said we'll be there with the ship. I think Elaine, like I said before, her last sort of thing she was doing is she was like, I was climbing on my own, and then Jinsung told me, hey, you owe me one, go protect Bomb. I think she could still be protecting Bomb because she can climb the tower while she's protecting him, and she can, like, sort of fulfill her last request from Jinsung there. In addition to that, I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see Andrasi and Anak with Bomb. Maybe Traveler stayed with them because they're still holding him hostage. I was thinking maybe those two would climb on their own, but since they're not with Ship's group, and we didn't see them particularly leave, and we know that Andrasi likes hanging around Bomb, of course, I could see Andrasi and Anak being with Bomb and Haku and Elaine. In addition to that, it was kind of hard to tell from the scene last week if Barrow and Irude, if they left with Sachi and Boro, or they stayed behind with Bomb. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if they stayed with Bomb, but there's also a decent chance that they may have been taken with Sachi and Boro. So, no clue how that went, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them. My ideas for Dang Dang and who they could possibly be, it's true that they could be a mad dog. I have heard multiple people that think that's a good idea, and I think that's totally true. Dang Dang could be a mad dog, and that is why Baylord Yama wants them back. Another reason for it that I think personally, though, is we know that Yama himself has undergone the blood fusion to make him stronger and give him special abilities, because they take all these regulars with these special family traits and abilities, and they sort of breed them, or they take their blood and inject it, and somehow that works, but they create blood fusions to make stronger and stronger fighting dogs and mad dogs, and that method is how Yama became so powerful that he was able to take over the Bay Road and become the Bay Lord. And from there he took 3 of his, we don't know if they're the strongest, but we took 3 of his personally selected mad dogs from the fighting pit to go climb the tower just to flex a little and show, hey, this is what I've got going on over at the Bay Road. So from that, I don't know. From that, I guess we could say that they might be one of the stronger ones. But either way, we've seen 2 of them, and either Dang Dang could be the 3rd, or I think Dang Dang could have some sort of family ability or family trait that would be really, really useful for Yama. And Yama either needs their blood in order to use that trait and give it to someone else, or to breed them or whatever. So I think that could be another reason that Dang Dang is a bargaining chip toward Yama, is that they have some sort of ability that it's not that they themselves are necessarily needed, but they might have an ability that's needed. In addition, I love how Bomb's character here, he still feels like the same person, but he feels more mature and experienced. That's what I was saying before when I was talking about the blog post stuff. He still seems like the same Bomb. He has the same ideals, but he is a Bomb that has been fighting on battlefields for 2 years. He's more mature, he's more experienced, and yeah, I like that. I like that he's basically the same person, just more mature. It actually makes sense. Because we saw, and I like it a lot too, because starting off the series in Volume 1, Bomb was just this naive kid who was trying to make it in a tower when he had no idea what was going on. But then we transition into the Return of the Prince storyline, where Bomb is now Jovial Grace, and he's not trying to make any friends. He's quiet, he's all business. All he cares about is making it past each test so he can get to the next floor so he can save his friends. He just cares about climbing up the tower. He doesn't care about making any new friends. And he has to sort of soften as the new friends work their ways into his life, but that's generally the personality we saw there, and it totally made sense. Once he met back up with his friends, we got to go into the Hell Train storyline, where we focused a lot on who Bomb was when it comes to his ideologies, and developed his character a lot that way. There were a lot of huge moments. His conversation with Kuhn at the Name Hunt Station was great, and him accepting the Jovial Grace within himself during the Hidden Floor was great. But there were just a lot of moments focusing on what his ideology is going to be, and less so on his actual personality. He really didn't show much personality throughout Hell Train. So I like that now we're getting back to having a Bomb, having a main character who is showing some personality. He's making some jokes here and there. And I think another reason for that is that during Hell Train there were so many characters around him at the time that a lot of the time Bomb could just stay silent, except when throwing out a soundbite like, "Oh, I want to get stronger," or something like that. With the exception of that, the characters around him could do most of the talking, and he could just sit there silently and let their personalities carry the scene. But with this, since it's him starting out with all these new characters, he gets to show off his own personality a bit, and we get to focus on him having the dialogue. So again, I think it's good that he's showing more emotion like that. But yeah, I'd give it as a whole, I mean, it's not absolutely perfect, but I loved it for the reasons I said. It sort of plays to and helps the weaknesses that Tower of God has as a series and makes them less weak, therefore making the series as a whole better. It was just a fun weekly story, which is great. As a chapter itself, there's nothing to knock it for. I'd give it 9 homoerotic combat furries out of 10. So yeah, 9 out of 10. Absolutely loved it. I actually haven't been able to get to yesterday's comments yet, but I'll be getting to them tonight or tomorrow probably. So expect me to be answering comments soon-ish. In addition to that, the Haku will be this Thursday. Probably, if I'm super busy, it might get thrown a day or two behind, but it should be this Thursday, and I should be able to bring those back weekly. At least in a limited capacity. I might have to stick to like 5 comments per series or something for now, until I get back into things and rework things. But yeah, Q&As are going to be back on Thursdays. So I guess that's it. If you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this chapter, what you thought of my thoughts on it and all that. Subscribe for more. Tower of God, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel or talk to you there. If you want a link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us on Discord about this series or anything else, just ask and I can give you a link. That's it. I loved the chapter and I hope you did too. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.